Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Monday. Thank you for joining me. The Empire struck back over the weekend. How about the Team USA hockey team? We have another feel-good story in sports. In a sports calendar year in the last 8 months, 6 months, it's been nothing but feel-good stories in sports. And yesterday, I believe it was, yes, Sunday, I believe it was Sunday morning. It was Sunday morning. Team USA, watched the entire thing. Team USA versus Canada, and the Empire has struck back. This is a sports rebellion going on against all the woke, all the anti-American sentiment. Jack Hughes, Connor Hellebuyck, the whole thing is a reaction. The reason why that felt so monumental, because this was not the A Miracle on Ice 2.0. Yes, it went overtime. Yes, Jack Hughes ended it with a great defensive play and a great finish at the other end. Yes, he was heroic. The guy gets a tooth and a half or 2 teeth knocked out, or at least 1 tooth knocked out early in the third period, high stick. This is like an old school Ronnie Lott moment. America wins gold in Olympic hockey for the first time since 1980, the Miracle on Ice. And the reason why it feels so big is because it was so patriotic at a time when athletes are being pushed to be anti-American. We've been dealing with this at least since 2016 when Colin Kaepernick started taking a knee. It heightened and went to its peak in 2020, and we've been living in the aftermath of every athlete has to pretend like America is the worst place in the world and Donald Trump is the worst person in the world. And oh my God, I'm carrying such a burden competing in athletics when Donald Trump is so mean. He writes mean tweets and he's racist. And there's all these things going on in America. And that's what they were trying to define this Olympic season with, these Winter Olympics. The reporters running over to, Milan, asking the players, how can you compete when Donald Trump is posting mean tweets and when ICE is trying to kick Somalians out of Minnesota? Oh, how can you compete? Aren't you just weighted down, worried about Somalians in Minnesota? The Empire strikes back with one of the most patriotic moments. It is the most patriotic moment in sports we've had since, because again, we'll have, 9/11. We got super patriotic after 9/11 in sports, but that may be it. George Bush throwing the first pitch after 9/11. But this may be the most patriotic moment in sports since then. 9/11, is that 2001? Is that 20 years? 24, 25 years? Hats off to Team USA. But the reason, and I'm telling you, I watched yesterday, and it wasn't until the end, until it went overtime, until Jack Hughes kept skating, kept playing after getting his teeth knocked out. And that's a great moment there just in male masculinity, American male masculinity. We feminize and soften sports to the point I'm surprised they didn't rush Jack Hughes to the hospital. But because it's hockey, you can still be a man. And this was like Ronnie Lott cutting off the tip of his finger to continue playing in a playoff game. Jack Hughes just continues on and then becomes the hero in overtime, and we have this great. Do we have the picture like him with the flag and this? Yeah, this is going to be one of the most memorable moments, one of the most memorable pictures in sports. This is like a version of Muhammad Ali standing over Sonny Liston. This is it's a different kind of John Carlos and Tommy Smith, fists raised, I believe, in 1968 at the Mexico Olympics. Now we have this on the other side. Jack Hughes, teeth knocked out, bloodied mouth, fist in the air, flag draped around him. And I want you to think about what has been going on in sports the past 6 to 8 months. Shohei Ohtani reveals himself as the Babe Ruth of our era, leads the Dodgers to a World Series title, pitches 10 strikeouts in a game. In the same game, he had 3 home runs in the NLCS. The Dodgers go on to win the World Series. The biggest, and we'll have this discussion here in a minute with Steve Kim and Butter. This Indiana winning the national championship, going, what did they go, 16-0? Will we remember Indiana and that 16-0 season more than we remember Miracle on Ice 2.0, which isn't really Miracle on Ice, it's the Empire striking back. But and then you have the feel-good story of the Seattle Seahawks, who centered their faith journey and won the Super Bowl with Sam Darnold at quarterback. The Empire is striking back. I want to juxtapose. Here's how they wanted you to think of this Olympics. I want to play this little compilation of athletes responding to these stupid questions. Oh, how can you compete? Donald Trump's in the White House. Racism is everywhere. Play that compilation.
It brings up mixed emotions to represent the U.S. right now, I think. It's a little hard. There's obviously a lot going on that I'm not the biggest fan of, and I think a lot of people aren't.
How do you feel about Trump's approach towards the LGBT community, and also how does it affect you personally?
Yeah, it's been a hard time for the community overall under this administration. It isn't the first time that we've had to come together as a community.
I think it is really important also to, notice like the faults in our own government. Things are a little rough.
I'm really hoping to show up and represent my own values of inclusivity, values of diversity and kindness and sharing.
A bunch of woke white athletes, I'm including that Asian woman, bunch of idiots, pretending like, other than at that podium, when asked the question, if they're sitting around thinking about Donald Trump and all that's going on in America, and I'm about diversity and inclusion. They wanted to woke up this Winter Olympics, and the Empire struck back. This is amazing. Jack Hughes, Connor Hellebuyck, these guys are going down, the Kachuk brothers, they're going down in history. They're going down, they'll be more remembered than, Maria Taylor and the black woman. Did y'all see the Maria Taylor tweet? The 2 black women. That's the tweet. This racial idolatry. This hockey team, Team USA, and the patriotic national anthem and the whole feel-good moment going on in sports, that's what we'll remember, not this garbage that Jamel Hill is promoting. I want to read to you all an excerpt from her piece in The Atlantic. Our Olympians are being put in an impossible position American athletes have been asked to account for Trump, then attacked for doing so. Oh, the horror. I want to read you from this art. That's the headline. The International Olympic Committee pushes the myth that the Olympics are meant to be a safe, apolitical space. Tell that to the American athletes at this year's Winter Olympics who are being asked tough questions about the political and social turmoil in their home country. What's tough about, Mrs. Athlete, tell us how bad Donald Trump is? Is that really a tough question? Talk negatively about Donald Trump. I don't think these guys were getting hit with tough questions. I think there was an agenda trying to be executed, and Team USA Hockey just blew it up. They just defined what these Winter Olympics were about from the American point of view. We knocked off the best hockey team in the world, two of the best hockey players in the world on that Canadian team. We were clearly outmanned, outskilled, the whole 9 yards, and Connor Hellebuyck sits in there and pitches basically a shutout, one of the greatest performers. What they have, like 42 shots on goal? And he shut down all but one. And they had good shots. They dominated that game. And we still won. And Jack Hughes gets beat with a stick in the mouth and comes back and beats Canada with the game-winning goal. And then drapes a flag around his neck and tells everybody how proud he is to be an American. Man, what a great time to be alive. Welcome back to Fearless. I wanted to get that off my chest. I'm going to bring Butter and Steve Kim into this conversation. But before I do that, I want to tell those of you listening over Apple to hit that 5-star rating. Right now, this show absolutely deserves it. I want to thank Relief Factor for making this show even a possibility. Thank you for being our sponsor today, and thank you for riding along with us. Relief Factor, look, it's not just that they support the show. They're helping me help myself. They're helping me fight the inflammation that compromises my workouts or tries to compromise my workouts, but it can't because Relief Factor is helping me fight inflammation. Inflammation is the source of all that joint pain you're feeling. Inflammation is like the root of all health evil. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free daily supplement that fights inflammation naturally. They have a 3-week quick start program that's only $20. This 3-week quick start will tell you if Relief Factor is the right thing for you. Is it a potential solution for that joint and inflammation pain that you're experiencing? 70% of the people that try the 3-week quick start circle back and re-up because they're already experiencing the benefits of Relief Factor like I have, like my friend Jeffrey Steele has. Jeffrey Steele, 64 years old. He's out right now. It's a little snowy and flurry. Is it flurries? Yeah, flurries. Here in Nashville, but he's out there on his bike, biking 30 miles every day at 64 years old, and Relief Factor is a big reason why. You should try it as well. 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800, the number 4-RELIEF, or visit relieffactor.com. All right, let's get to Steve Kim and Butter. If you think it's butter, but it's not, it's Butter. Something tells me Butter's muted. Make sure you're not muted, Butter. I'm going to
Am I
Steve
muted?
Kim. No, you're not muted. You're good. All right, so now Steve Kim's paranoid and he's checking his own. Steve, did you watch? Were you up at 6 a.m. Los Angeles time watching? You got your flags ready? Is this Team USA?
What do you think?
Oh, cool.
It's like Don King, only in America. You know what I mean? God
What do you
bless
think? My Empire Strikes Back. They just shut up Jamel Hill and all the woke idiots.
They did. Now, first of all, I want to come clean here. I did not watch a minute of the Olympics, period. Not 1 second. Now, but 2 weeks ago, Netflix had an excellent documentary on the 1980 U.S. hockey team led by Herb Brooks. The Miracle, the Boys of 80. I enjoyed it, and I said, you know what? I'm good. I've got my Olympic fill, but it's great to hear that. But to your monologue, here's the irony about people like Jamel Hill. The only one politicizing this whole Olympic Games is you guys. Yes, you people. I don't think any of these athletes go out there working their whole lives in a sport that 99% of America does not care about to be asked in front of the world stage, hey, do you like our president? And here's what I think. There's a lot of white guilt because those people that you just highlighted giving those answers, let's be honest, they have a lot of white guilt and they're involved in sports that is whiter than the snow that they skate on, right? So they're looking out into the audience and they're savvy. They're like, oh, God. You know, none of them have the guts to say, God bless Donald Trump, and I think he's doing a hell of a job. Even if they mean it, I think they intrinsically know they can't be honest.
Butter, I'm hoping you were a bit more patriotic than Steve. Did you watch the hockey? This was an incredible moment. I'm sure you watched. You got two young boys that are athletes. I know you were all in on this.
I watched a good part of it. I about 10 years ago, sports told me I was no longer their customer and no longer a needed participant. And so I've kind of turned away from sports in general. So I didn't watch the whole thing, especially what you were mentioning off the top about the skiers and the preaching. It reminded me again of why sports was stolen from me, is because I can't just go and enjoy it. So I didn't watch a lot of it. I hate to disappoint you, Jason. But what a moment, though. I mean, the blood, the face, the flag, and I even wanted to add this, Toby Keith playing in the background just seemed like everything that we've ever wanted from sports and everything that I grew up loving about sports. It was such a magical moment. So after the match and everything took place and I saw the way that they were reacting, I did go back and I watched a lot of the game, and what a game. Just what an overall moment. I'm so happy, and this is a moment so proud to be an American and to watch them represent America.
You know what? You guys are leading me to perhaps a more enlightened point of view in terms of this is why I'm saying, like, no, it's not Miracle on Ice 2.0, because it can't be. Too many hardcore sports fans have been run out. That they've been so over the top. In 1980, and look, I guess there's always been politics in the Olympics, but it was everybody watched the Miracle on Ice, or it certainly felt like that. Obviously, we had less options. We only had 3 or 4 TV channels, and there wasn't all this splintering. But there also wasn't this level of political division. And so everybody did consume the Miracle on Ice. But what is kind of sad to me is that so many people, because I just keeping it real like you guys, this is the only thing that I watched during the Olympics. I watched this game primarily initially because, like, hey, we'll probably talk about this on Monday. It is a big deal. I've covered the Winter Olympics before in person. I know, how good Canada is. But this is the only thing I watched during the Winter Olympics. And I guess the inability to reach a massive amount of people does kind of diminish this. But again, sticking with my Empire Strike Back theme, a comeback's got to start somewhere. And as I link together all these different feel-good stories that we're having in sports, Steve, doesn't it make you, from Indiana's a great story. Obviously, this hockey deal is a great story. Shohei Ohtani is an awesome story. Seattle Seahawks, awesome story. Sports not having a little bit of a comeback feel to you?
That's hard to say, but let me put into context in 1980 what I think at this point that not a lot, but there's a percentage of people in our country who don't root for America. And if with the team that's all full of very, very pale, light-skinned participants, they probably really don't want them to win. That's been unspoken here, but a team of all white players, there's a group or a segment, as Thomas Sowell says, the philosophy of grievance, they probably don't like to see them win because they represent middle America. It's as an antithesis to what they believe America should be, right? Because it doesn't have that forced inclusion. It's not a DEI team. The other thing, in 1980, I believe everyone was very patriotic because we had the specter of the Cold War. We truly were a Cinderella story. I think right now, America has to be a top 3 or 4 Olympic or a hockey team, right? Like last year in the tournament that we talked about, they played Canada, lost in overtime, but it was clear the U.S. is a elite hockey country. In 1980, we had a group of amateurs, most of them from Boston University, University of Minnesota. They played for Herb Brooks. And then also, this added to the story, and I remember this as a kid, seeing the news reports from Dick Schaap. I just happened to watch it. They played the Soviet team, and they got blown out 10-3 at Madison Square Garden. Jason, I didn't know hockey teams were allowed to even score double digits. And so I've read books on this. I've watched various documentaries on that team, and there's a mystique to it because, in essence, it was not a dream team. It was a bunch of kids that from next door that played at the hockey rink. Some of them were not going to play in the NHL. They're going to sell insurance the rest of their lives. And they were incredibly relatable. But I would say, in my view, and I was just very young back then, Jason, I remember in 1980, as bad as the country may have been with the Jimmy Carter presidency, I think overall more people were patriotic then than they are now.
Man, you guys are irritating me, but making me think significant thoughts in terms of like sports have always had the ability to bring us together. That, you know, if Joe Louis fighting Max Schmeling in 1936 or whatever, Jesse Owens running in the Olympics in 1934, I believe, in Berlin. Someone double check my facts there, maybe 32. But Jesse Owens, if those things when we had like real racism, and those things could bring us together, and now we don't. I'm just sorry, I'm never going to back off this. We just don't have that kind of racism. We have very little actual racism. And now sports can't bring us together. It makes me sad. Sports has just lost its ability to bring us together, Butter?
Well, I think it's been part of what's been driving us apart. I grew up on ESPN, and I grew up playing sports, and I often try to make sure in these scenarios I'm just not getting old, you know, and it's the old man that looks back, and it's not like it used to was. I feel like because of the presence of the need for people that, you know, have to lecture you the same way the Grammys make me feel, the same way Hollywood makes me feel, sports makes me feel that. And it just has become such a frustration that I feel like it has become a divider versus going to see somebody win and lose and to root for your team and root for the boys. I think college has still held on to that. I think professional sports, and you just saw it off the top with the Olympics, the skiers from Breckenridge how many kids from Gary, Indiana grew up skiing? You know what I mean? Like, these people don't feel like they represent anything that I am. And as much as I am for America and want to see America win, I feel like sports has become an additional divider simply because of the messaging that now seems to have to be tied to it.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but given the fact, like, to add on to what Butter said, you know, I'm a lifelong Los Angeles native, right? So, you know, I didn't do a lot of skiing. I didn't do a lot of luge or bobsledding. I mean, it's 80 degrees today. It's great. I'm going to enjoy all of it. But for the most part, growing up, when I watched the Olympics, I would say 95% of it was always the Summer Olympics. Like, the only other story I remember about 1980, the Winter Olympics, I believe, was in Lake Placid, was Eric Heiden. He won like 5 gold medals. He was the dominant U.S. athlete. I don't remember anyone else. And I think we had a couple figure skaters that had some issues there. And also, you know, people forget in 1980, the game with Russia was not the gold medal game. That was actually the semifinal. They had to play, I believe, Finland the next day. Also, that game for most of the country was on tape delay. It was not live. ABC could not get that game moved. Okay, so but there was still this mystique to it because they thought they were unbeatable, the Russian team. The other thing is, again, I don't remember any other Olympics, no matter who's on stage, whether it's Carl Lewis, right? Carl Lewis won 4 gold medals in '84. That was his crowning achievement among many of them. But no one asked him, hey, Carl, Reaganomics, man, it's been tough. What do you think? Do you just say no like no one was doing that? And there's been no, I actually think it's, if an athlete walked up there on that podium with the MAGA hat, now it's fair game because now you're making a political statement. Now you open yourselves up. But if all you're doing is wearing that USA team official apparel, I think that's their way of saying, hey, I'm an American. I'm about the games right now.
Butter, I'm going to tell you what's really fascinating and a bit troubling for me is like, I just assumed, and I made a bad assumption, with those 2 young boys and them being athletes, that they would watch this and drag you and your wife along in watching it because they were into it. Were your 2 boys, Tug and Hut, they were oblivious to this?
You know, they're super involved in sports, and I get what you're saying, and I think we watch the World Series. I don't know if this makes me sound anti-American or a terrible dad, but it never came up. We never discussed the time to carve out. They never approached me. I don't know that they were very aware. You know, they don't watch hockey. We've been to a few Predators games here in Nashville, but no, man, we just, it wasn't on our radar, and it wasn't something that we looked to set time out. Now, we since went back, and last night laying in bed. Now, they're busy with sports, too. I mean, it's a full-time schedule here. We don't have a ton of time to watch sports, but we sat there and cried and watched. And
8:30 Sunday morning, you guys were what? Out doing up-downs out in your front yard, preparing for football season? What?
Hey, man, baseball's full effect here, man. I didn't even know what time it was, but we watched Johnny Hockey. We watched we watched all of the highlights. So I wish I could have been a better example for you, but no, it wasn't even on our radar really to do it as a family, and they definitely didn't pull me into it. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not trying to put you on the defensive. I'm trying to learn because I do think you're probably representative of a lot of families that got, because obviously I know your 2 boys. I was such a sports nut that back then I could follow any sport. Sports that I wasn't a baseball player, but holy cow, did I follow baseball. I followed the Winter Olympics. It's just like people are competing. I'm watching. It's on. Again, I didn't have the options. We didn't have these real life type video games. If I'd had Madden back in 1980, maybe I'd be playing Madden because it's so close to real life than watching. But wow, and I'm just sitting here like, if sports have become so divisive and they can't pull us together, nothing can. I mean, what?
We wanted to and knew about and watched the World Series, and that was something that they definitely wanted and were into. They're more connected to that sports wise, but I don't know that the Winter Olympics really has a, back in the day there wasn't as many options, and I think you make a good point. It's much more separated in what we can see and watch and do and things going on. But I just feel like those sports aren't anything that they really connect with. They have a few friends that play hockey, and so there is some of that. But I think there is a clear distinction that sporting event and that event, the Olympics, does not register and resonate with my kids.
Steve, I'm asking you a dumb question that I would have to know the answer to already just because college football is your life. But based on this conversation, like, Indiana going 16-0 in the college football season just totally dwarfs this hockey moment and this gold medal in hockey. Yes?
I would, well, to be fair, keep this in mind. College football is probably the second most popular sport in America. So already off the bat, they're on a bigger platform. The other thing is, so Jason, you're telling me Pacific time, if I wanted to watch the game yesterday, I had to wake up at about 5:36?
Yes.
That right there already is going to shrink your audience, right? The Indiana-Miami game, I believe, had over 30 million people total watching it. I saw some stats. Go back to 1980, even though that game was on tape delay, I still remember watching it post 6 p.m. when I was living in Valencia, California. So right there, the reach, like you said, back then there was about 4 channels. ABC, CBS, NBC, and the local affiliates, right? So the Olympics, the way it's now covered, I remember growing up, Jason, you and I, when we watched the Olympics, it was one network, right? And you had to watch one network. Then starting in 92, I believe NBC had the Olympic cast where you could watch different. It's so spread out, it'll actually dilute the numbers. But again, Jason, any event that starts that early will never have the same reach as anything that starts in prime time.
Well, part of this conversation started with Butter sending me and us a text, and Butter sends me this deal all excited. Now, before I even get to the question, he's basically taking a dump and giving us an answer, and so it's like the picture. Let's put up the picture of Jack Hughes again, and I mean it's kind of a silly question. I was gonna does this picture belong with the great pantheon of great sports pictures, from Ali standing over Liston to Dwight Clark's catch that made the cover of Sports Illustrated, Jordan hugging the trophy. I believe this was after his dad had passed away. Yeah, he's in the locker room. Or Hank Aaron hitting 7:15 with the fans, coming out to pat him on the back, and Brandy Chastain, even, which I think is kind of bogus, but ripping off her shirt and revealing her sports bra. Will Jack Hughes' picture, does it even belong in the conversation with these guys?
I mean, he also forgot when Jimmy Johnson won the 87 national championship in Miami and the 88 Orange Bowl getting lifted up and pumping it. That should be in the Louvre. That's a great photo. That's iconic. That went viral. I saw that all over Twitter. So by today's standards, yes. In 1980, the vision that I get is Jim Craig looking for his father with the American flag draped around him because his mother had died. It was like when you know the backstory, it almost brings you to tears. And he's out there just kind of looking for his father in that crowd. But yes, I believe that is the modern version of that.
Oh wow!
I believe it is an iconic photo for a lot more reasons today than I think back when all of that took place.
Even though you didn't watch. Go ahead.
Yeah, but the reason I didn't watch is the reason why it's so important. The reason I didn't watch is because what this picture reminded me of. You talk about the Empire Strikes Back. This is what lures you into sports. This is what I crave to see Americans doing, and just simply saying, hey, we're proud to be here in America. I crave to see American support, and I feel like it's been removed and constantly under attack. I mentioned the Grammys. It's all over any professional level. I don't relate to the sports athletes of today, where when I see these guys and I see Toby Keith playing in the background and I see them going to grab kids out of the stands and I see blood and teeth, I don't see that in the American athletes' presentation on a daily basis the way I see this. So to me, this is a reminder of what sports meant. Yes, I didn't watch it, and the reason I didn't watch it is because I haven't seen this. This makes me proud, and so I went back, and it will lead me to become somebody that might start watching it again. I don't relate to the athletes anymore, and I relate to this, and that's why I think it's so iconic at a time where that's not easy to find.
Butter, you've referenced the Grammys twice, and I'm glad you did it a second time because it reminded me of a follow-up I wanted to ask. They ran me out of rap music It's
Right.
too degenerate, too depraved, blah blah blah. R&B has partnered with rap music, and they've kind of run me out of R&B, and so all I listen to is 70s and 80s R&B, 90s R&B a little bit. I don't listen to any rap because it all reminds me of this garbage they got going on now. But I still, I still seek out music. When I hear a great song, when Jeffrey Steele puts together a great song, or Aaron Lewis, or anybody, Morgan Wallen puts together a great song, anybody, it still has that kind of impact, and I still hunt it down and seek it out. And so I guess you're right. I watch a lot less of the NBA because these guys too many of them got hairdos like women, tats like career prison criminals, and an attitude that turns me off. But I still am on the hunt for good sports because and stomach the NFL. But there's nothing that could break my love of music, and they've done a lot of things in music that irritate me, but they'll never run me away from it. And I guess I feel the same way about sports.
It's become you can get it in segments. You can get exactly what you want now. You can hit Spotify and you can get through the noise, or you can get exactly what you want. I think with sports, back in the day, we had to get it when they gave it to us. We can get it now on our own terms a little bit more. And I think that the same way it got segmented and the Grammys in Hollywood has always been preaching. But I think because of social media now and the onslaught of how much it just seems like I wanted to tune into sports for the fact that I wasn't tuning into politics or getting lectured. And when that has been completely removed, when ESPN and the NFL and pro sports made the decision that there's no longer that distinction there, I decided to just go get it when I wanted it and on my terms. And I feel like that still kind of is the way today. I feel like music can do that. Sounds to me like you do that. You like go to a concert. You want good music, but you can find it on your own terms now. And it's not just when they deliver it to you. It's a modern way of consuming what we want, and I definitely, I'm super stoked about, this picture. That's why I haven't sent you a lot of stuff in the text thread. I was moved by this. I was truly moved, and it made me so happy.
In a delayed manner.
Yeah.
Steve, I'm going to finish this with you because and Butter, chime in if you want. Big game performances. This Connor Hellebuyck, he shut him down. The guy had a reputation like Lamar Jackson. I think he's been MVP of the NHL, but he's been horrible in the postseason. That's been his reputation. That he's like, again, the Lamar Jackson of the National Hockey League. 7-11, I believe. Yeah, the last two seasons, 7-11, 24-34 record overall in the postseason. But he's allegedly one of the great, he's not quite Martin Brodeur, but he's one of the great goalies of all time, or in the conversation. But he can't get it done in the big games. Has an incredible big game here. Everybody, even Jack Hughes, everybody's like, hey, he's the reason we won. Stood on his head back there, shut him down. We started trying to compile a list. I'm sorry, is it Hellebuyck or Hellebuyck? Hellebuyck. I could keep putting the E on the end of it because of the YE. I apologize. But we came up with a list of greatest performances in big clutch games. Magic Johnson, Game 6 of the 1980 NBA Finals, I believe. Yeah. Don Larson pitched a no-hitter, Game 5 versus the Brooklyn Dodgers. That's a really old one. I wasn't around for that. I think Hadley was there at that game. Shohei Ohtani here recently with 3 homers, 10 strikeouts in the NLCS. Reggie Jackson, Mr. October, Game 6 of the World Series.
All right.
Am I right here? Who am I leaving out other than Jimmy Johnson and Michael Irvin?
Edgerrin James, 298 yards against UCLA, December 5th, 1998. Great game. I was there, by the way. I got a couple of them. Jim Craig in that game against Russia, there were shots being fired all over the place. I mean, that was a machine. Out of the top 20 players in hockey in the world, the Russians probably had like 10 of them. Right? Their third line was probably NHL All-Star quality, and Jim Craig came up big, did not have a great NHL career. I'll stick with the Olympics. You know what? An unbelievable jump, Bob Beamon. Bob Beamon was not favored to do anything, and he jumped from Mexico City to Guadalajara. He had never jumped anything close to that, and he had that one perfect moment where he almost flew out of the sand trap. I would put that up there. Baseball. I remember watching this. Game 7, 1991, if I am not mistaken, Jack Morris pitched a 10-inning complete game win as the Twins beat the Atlanta Braves. One of the great clutch performances I have ever seen.
Butter, you got anything to add here?
2019 Tiger Woods, the winning the Masters, individual performance. Greatest championship team-wise is the 2016 Cleveland Cavs beating the Warriors.
Did you watch any of that, or did you watch it on a tape-delayed basis?
I don't watch either of those as much as I watch Fearless every day. So we get it when we can.
Gentlemen, I got to take it. Butter, I'm going to let you go. Deal with your wife and kids. Steve, you need to hang tight. We're going to switch up the conversation here in a little bit. But before we do that, I want to tell you about our other sponsor today, and it's Bubs Naturals. The holidays don't just hit your waistline. They hit your recovery, too. Travel, heavy food, weird sleep, no routine. And suddenly your joints feel older and workouts take longer to bounce back from. That's why I locked into Bubs Natural Collagen Peptides this year. As we age, our natural collagen production starts declining as early as our mid-20s, and collagen is basically the glue that holds your body together. Joints, skin, hair, nails, recovery. When it drops, you feel it. Bubs helps restore those levels closer to what your body had in its prime, and it's clean, no junk, no sugars, no fillers. Third-party tested, sustainably sourced, and it dissolves right into coffee or a smoothie without clumps or taste. Over 100,000 happy customers voted best collagen by health.com. Live better longer. For a limited time only, our listeners are getting 20% off at Bubs Naturals by using code FEARLESS at checkout. Just head to bubsnatural.com and use the code FEARLESS, and you're all set. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support us and tell them this show sent you. We'll take a break. When we come back, Skap, Dre Baldwin, and Steve Kim will join us next.
Yeah, so I got in the league in 2005, and back then, the only way you can get your news was through the newspaper. And we used to, when you're in the locker room, you're just looking for some credibility. You're just looking for some validation, right? And I've played on teams where the offensive line plays really, really good. 1,000-yard rushers, 1,000-yard receivers, 4,000-yard passing quarterbacks. And the dynamic is, we read these articles and we feel that they have no idea what they're talking about, right? You read the article and you're like, man, this guy is just so far off. He's out of practice every day. He's watching the same games, and this guy is so far off, right? Now that I'm on the media side, I realize the beat writers are really stuck in a really tough position because they have to be political about what they write. They have to stay in the good graces of the organization, but that really pisses off the fans. Beat writers write articles. The fans feel like they're not putting it all together. They're not diving into the conspiracy theories. They're not asking good questions. So the beat writer, this is the biggest revelation I've had. The beat writer is in a really precarious situation. You have the players that are pissed off at them. Then they write an article. They have to be political. They have to be kind to the team. They have to really watch what they say. Then you get the fans on.
These words are our religion, no regrets in our decisions. We all want to go to heaven with freedom. It's my obligation, no hate, discrimination, raising up your hands for freedom.
All right, welcome back. Steve Kim, the Korean Cosell, Jay Skapinac, and Dre Baldwin. I got to come up with a nickname for Dre. He wears a suit and tie every time he's on the show.
Doctor.
Doctor.
I think that's taken.
Doctor.
That one's taken,
Dr.
I think.
Dre, yeah. Dr. Dre. That's not bad, Dr. Dre. Doctors don't wear suit and ties, though. But anyway, I kind of like that,
Yeah.
Dr. Dre. Anyway, Dr. Dre, Korean Cosell, and Scap. Darren Peterson, the Kansas freshman basketball star, has finally addressed the controversy a little bit about why hasn't been playing long minutes. Kansas lost to Cincinnati over the weekend. Cincinnati, not a very good team. Cincinnati beat them in Fog Allen, where Kansas almost never loses. And they didn't just beat them. They beat them like a drum. I mean, I covered the University of Kansas, Roy Williams, and Bill Self for 16 years when I lived in Kansas City. I've seen a lot of basketball games in Fog Allen. Mediocre teams do not come into Fog Allen and beat the Jayhawks. Did we pull this photo that's floating around that's a little bit unfair? The one Danny Cannell tweeted out. Did we pull that? There's a photo floating around of like Darren Peterson isolated and walking onto the court and his team all huddled up, and people are taking a lot of shots at Darren Peterson. ESPN has done a story on what's going on with Darren Peterson, why he hasn't been playing for as long a minutes and why he's been checking himself out of games and whatnot. But I don't think he really answered the questions here. Oh, yeah, here it is. Here's the quote. Everybody's got an opinion on it, Peterson told ESPN between the Arizona and Oklahoma State games. But basketball is my life. If I could have been out there every game this year, I would have. If you would have asked me last year what were my goals for this year, I would never mention missing games. So all this stuff kind of just happened, but I've got to deal with it. Darren Peterson and his spotty play, inconsistent minutes, whatever, it's actually overshadowing one of the great throwback regular seasons for men's college basketball. I don't think he's answered the questions, the problems with his comments here, because early in the season when he was injured and he missed games, no one was complaining. The complaints are about him tapping out of games, not playing long minutes in games, when the other freshman, this kid in BYU, didn't he play like 39 minutes the other night? And Carlos Boozer's boy, is it Cam Boozer, is playing big minutes for Duke. Anyway, Steve Kim, I'm going to let you fire first here. What your thoughts here on Darren Peterson and his response to the critics?
Well, I have a question. So I don't really know the context of the question that elicited that answer. I would have, if I'm there, I would have said to him, well, could you have played more minutes? Are you in essence load managing? I think that's a fair question. That's what, I don't even think people have a issue with one and done anymore. As much as they don't like it, I think people realize it's here to stay. There's really nothing you can do to stop it till you have a new agreement that's part of the CBA. Let me go back to Zion Williamson. Okay, remember him? We used to all love him. That 1 year at Duke, I thought that was the last year I actually paid any attention to college basketball. When he was on the television screen with Duke, they had a very talented squad. I think they had 3 other top 50 players. I watched him. Then when he blew out his Nike, he literally blew out his Nike. He missed some time. I lost interest. When he came back, I went right back to watching. But I always got the sense, yeah, you're going to be at Duke for about 20 minutes. But for those 20 minutes, you're going to give us everything you have. And that's fair. Then you go on to the next level, and I don't think he's played since. Problem with Peterson is I think there is a sense that you are taking a lot from Kansas, and you're not giving back in return.
Yeah, I think his response here, it's a story ESPN has released today, but I think the response, the quote from Darren Peterson, they got a week or two ago. So it's not completely fresh. First time we're hearing it, they put together a story how the question of Darren Peterson's availability is shaping Kansas's season. But Scap, your thoughts on Darren Peterson and what he's doing to his brand, and has he adequately answered any of these questions?
No, I don't think he's adequately answered anything, to be honest with you. I think he's probably hurting his brand. I think he's hurting his stock at the next level. Look, he is a highly sought after. He's one of the many guys that are being talked about right now in this super draft that's coming up later on in the summer. So, look, he is one of the reasons why people are tripping over themselves in the NBA to tank right now. Darren Peterson is highly touted right now. He's highly thought of at the next level. But quite frankly, I would tread very delicately if I was one of these upper echelon, well, I should say lower tier teams in the NBA that are vying for like a top 5 draft pick. He hasn't answered any questions to us, the general public. I don't think he has alleviated any of the strain that, general public are questioning him about his availability and his desire really to play. It doesn't matter, though, what all of us think about him. What really matters is what one of those teams that possess a top 5 overall pick thinks going into the draft. He's going to have to answer. And if I were a team with one of those picks, I would be demanding answers from him as to why he seems really unwilling to play and log substantial minutes here. Look, the NBA game is longer than the college game by 8 minutes. They play 50 more games in the NBA season, just the regular season alone, than the collegiate level. Then the playoffs after that. You could play, 100 some games in an NBA calendar year. What are you looking at? 35 to 45 at most for a college, including the NCAA tournament. So I would have massive questions for this guy in my interview process going into the next level. And look, I would, again, tread very, very delicately if I were considering expanding a top 5 pick on this guy. Guys, he is right now like a top 2 estimated overall pick. Like he's in mock drafts, he's like a top 2 pick right now. I would be pretty concerned about pulling that trigger if I was an NBA GM right now.
Darren Peterson is killing himself, Dre. Do you agree?
No, I don't agree. The question, Jason, was, did he answer the question? The question is, what question? The question is, when you're a college player trying to go to the NBA, is, are you talented enough to get drafted? The answer is, of course he is. He's the top 2 pick. That's the only question that matters. And he's already answered that question. He's got a ton of money from NIL. He is, it appears to be detached from what the team is doing at Kansas. But in the big picture for his professional career, does it actually matter? And for the most part, between now and draft day, it does not matter. Now, when it comes to how much does he love basketball, does he really care? Is he going to turn it on when he gets to the NBA and play every day? He might. We don't know. But does the NBA need a guarantee of that before they draft the guy and give him that guaranteed max number 1 pick slotted money? The answer is no, they don't. If he gets drafted number 1, he's getting the money that he's getting. He's going to get the brand deals that he gets. And nothing that happens right now between the rest of this college season, the off season, and the draft really matters at all. Yes, he is leaving the fans in the lurch, and they're questioning, hey, is this guy serious? Is he really playing? Does he care about the team? Is he going to show up every day? Yes, that is a question for the fans. But, I mean, does it really matter what the fans think? In the big picture, it really doesn't. It matters in that we talk about it, and that maybe he doesn't have as big a fan base coming into the league, but he already got his NIL money. He's going to have his guaranteed NBA money and maybe his endorsement deals because he's a good player and a high pick. But other than that, I think he's already answered the question. He already answered it. That's why he's getting drafted.
A temperature check on you. Can we get a thermometer over to the doctor here? And because this is like the worst take, Dre, that I've heard of you have on this show to this point. Of course, you know who it should matter to is every GM in the NBA that is considering taking this guy with a top 5 pick. He has the ability, the potential to absolutely sink a franchise and to destroy a general manager's life. Okay, look, what is one of the biggest things plaguing the NBA today? Load management. It's one of the worst looks for like the entire league right now. And look at all the star marquee players that are deploying the tactics. Like, it's the worst look in the NBA today. And this kid is load managing at the collegiate level already, where he's going to play like at least a half less time now than he will next year or will be expected to play next year. Look, Steve Kim mentioned Zion Williamson. So let me go ahead and expand upon the parallels here, because Zion Williamson was a hell of a lot better player than Peterson is now. There are 4 players in college basketball history to win National Player of the Year as a freshman. That would be Anthony Davis, Cooper Flagg, Zion Williamson, and I'm drawing a blank on it. There is a 4th, but Zion Williamson was one of the ones. Okay, National Player of the Year, and when he plays in the NBA, he is a bona fide elite, really all-time player. If you look at the numbers that he churns out when he actually steps on an NBA court. The problem is, look, he's setting to play 41 games this year. He's averaging for that. That's like the most games this guy has ever played. He doesn't play. So I think is a significant drawback now if we're evaluating Peterson and kind of extrapolating out to what kind of pro this guy is going to be. What in a draft which possesses elite other players, like at least 4 or 5 other elite players, I think Peterson has the potential to maybe drop like significantly if he doesn't explain what is going on here and have a viable excuse.
Potentially. He's still going to be a draft pick. He's still going to get paid. Zion Williamson was so great in college. Has he been that great in the NBA? The whole thing is the draft is a guess. You're playing the lottery. You don't know how a player is going to turn out from college to the pros. There are some players in college who are not that great. They're not amazing. They're good. Then they get to the pros and they become amazing. So we never really know. And I don't think anything he's doing right now in the big picture is really going to hurt him that much.
I mean, Zion got distracted, but here's the thing, right? I'm kind of with Dre. The hay's already in the barn. Would this be an issue or a red flag or a character concern for any NBA franchise in 2016? Yes. 2006, 1996, 1986, absolutely. But in 2026, he's a byproduct of the whole system and culture of basketball and collegiate athletics. So when he gets into these meetings and do the vetting process, will they have to ask him, young man, do you actually like basketball to a point? Can you do this 5.5 months out of the year and play somewhere around 70 games? All right, because we know you can load manage, but can you be a professional? And with all of that said, he'll give the right answers, right? He'll be coached up on it. But the reality is, he's just really adjusting to the time and place of athletics and the business of sports. So I don't think it's a big red flag as it would have been even 10 years ago.
Listen,
I gotta say,
hold for 1 second,
second,
Scap. Hold for 1 second. Hold for 1 second. I'm siding with Scap here. Come on. I know things have changed, but availability is still the number one ability.
Right.
And this guy's not available often enough. He's raised red flags about himself. Yes, are NBA franchises stupid enough to keep him slotted at 1 or 2? But a wise NBA person looking at all the other talent would be like, hey, man, this guy load managed in high school. He load managed in college. And previous behavior is the best indicator of future behavior. A handful of teams are going to be wise enough to say, I don't know, man. If I can get him at 6, maybe he's worth the risk. But 1 or 2 with these other guys on the table that are dogs, and they are going to look and say, like, hey, man, because this is what the Pelicans are kicking themselves in the butt about. Like, man, Zion showed us he had an eating problem, and we ignored it, and now we're paying the price for that. And it's like this guy has shown us he has a competition problem, and we're going to ignore it. Look, I'm not suggesting either one of you are defending his behavior, but the suggestion that you're confident there will be no consequences for his behavior is an indictment of the NBA, and perhaps that's what you guys are doing. But Darren Peterson has not chosen a wise strategy. But the last thing I'll say is, like, Bill Self is a really respected person in the basketball world. And he's never had a problem getting players to compete. Actually, Bill Self is the coach that gets players to compete. When you go look at what he did at Illinois, you go look at what he's done at Kansas, a lot of times without the very best of the best players, he gets guys to compete. He gets guys to play above their natural talent. He can't seem to reach this guy. And NBA coaches and general are like, Bill Self can't reach him? How am I going to do it? Dr. Dre, you can go ahead and respond to that first.
Well, you can't be the general manager who passed on this guy who ends up being a superstar if it turns out maybe he was just disinterested at the college level because he's already getting paid and he knows he's going to get drafted. That's the whole challenge of being a general manager in professional sports, is that you can't predict how someone's going to translate.
Let me clean this up. Let me ask you a more direct question. Dre, you're telling me if you're sitting there at the 1 pick, you would take Darren Peterson?
Possibly. I might have to, depending on who I'm working for, depending on who my boss is. I might have to do that. If I think he's the most talented player, I may have to swing for the fences and go for this guy.
Don't dance. Don't go Michael Jackson on me. Would you take Darren Peterson with all these 5, 6 other guys sitting out there? Would you take Darren Peterson number 1?
Yes. Why not?
Insane. It's just look, the doctor isn't alone. I looked at 3 different mock drafts just before I hopped on this bridge. Darren Peterson is number 1 in all 3. I am stupefied by that. Stupefied, because you have Cameron Boozer, who has good size, NBA pedigree, is averaging 23 and 12 for like a top 3 team right now in college basketball. It is shocking to me. Like he is so much more of a safer pick than Peterson. I wouldn't even think twice about pulling the trigger on Boozer over Peterson if I was sitting at the number 1 slot. For the life of me, I cannot recall the 4th freshman that won National Player of the Year. But seriously,
Kevin
look
Durant.
at 2 of... Was it Durant?
I'm pretty sure, yes.
Look at the other 2. So let's put Durant and Cooper Flagg, the verdicts out. But even Anthony Davis barely plays too. So 2 of the 4 guys, Anthony Davis and Zion Williamson, they are undeniably elite talents, but they never play. And now this guy is showing you at the college level that he doesn't want to play or he is incapable of playing due to injuries. And look, neither is a very good commentary to be made by him. Like, either he's not durable enough to sustain a 40-game college basketball season, or he doesn't have the will, the desire, the drive, the intangibles to want to compete and love the game and play it. Like, neither one of those is screaming number 1 overall pick to me. Whichever pathway he wants to go in describing what's going on here, I would avoid this guy like the plague if I was an NBA general manager with a top 5 pick.
That's convenient cherry picking there, Scott. Steph Curry had a whole lot of injuries early in his career. Look what he became. Dwayne Wade had a ton of injuries first 5 years of his career. Look what he became. And there are other players who were great in college.
That is an incorrect narrative. Steph Curry played over 70 games, all but one of his first 5 seasons in the NBA.
But he kept getting injured, and the Warriors only gave him that smaller contract, which allowed them to stack those bigger contracts later on to build their dynasty because they were afraid for his body holding up. It was the same thing with Dwayne Wade. The Heat didn't know if his body was going to hold up. When his body started holding up, they became a great team.
2 dogs in college. Steph Curry was an absolute beast in college.
So was Adam
Morrison.
Morrison.
He wanted
Remember
to compete.
him?
Who?
Adam Morrison that Michael Jordan drafted over at Charlotte. There have been a lot of players who've been dogs in college. They get to the NBA and they're not great. This happens all the time. It's a gamble. You don't know.
You can tell when a guy's game isn't going to translate, like J.J. Redick or Adam Morrison. You could tell J.J. Redick was...
He was the number 3 pick in the draft.
I'm not saying I would have taken him either if I was an NBA general manager. You could that guy averaged 26 points per game his last year at Duke. You could tell he's not going to be a 25 to 30 point per game scorer in the NBA. You could just tell the guy's game wasn't going to translate. I'm not rejecting the skill, the athleticism, the talent that Darren Peterson has. I'm arguing with you based on what's between the ears. Like, that matters. Intangibles matter. In a league in the NBA where everybody are super athletes, what is your differentiator? When you have a guy that's lazy or doesn't have that fire in them, like, I'm just going to avoid them at the next level. That's just my take. And if I were a general manager in the NBA, I would really insist upon them taking a very strong, hard look. Maybe they sit down with Peterson and he answers all the questions the right way. Maybe he's a high character guy in that interview, but you better ask the very difficult questions to him before you're willing to pull the trigger on possibly the #1 overall pick.
I've seen enough. I don't care what he says. I've seen enough.
I think we're extrapolating too far here without enough information. I think we're drawing way too many conclusions about who this guy really is. Talent-wise, what we can see with our eyes, we know. As far as what's going on in his head and why he's not playing, we don't actually know. We're theorizing. So as of now, back to your question, Jason, yes, I would take him #1.
Steve, would you take him #1?
Am I getting Kawhi Leonard or Ben Simmons? That's a great question. Again, I'm not saying it's not a red flag. 10 years ago, it's a huge red flag. Nowadays, I think we've softened the standards. You know what I would do? I'd be the team that gives him his second contract. I want to see how he behaves as a rookie.
There you go. Gentlemen, I'm going to play this clip. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because I just went so overboard there. But Master P, I believe, the rapper, wants to be a college coach. I can't wait to hear Dr. Dre's opinion on this. Fellow rapper Dr. Dre on let's play Master P. He wants to be a college basketball coach.
Bring to the table. I have so many colleges now looking at me like, hey, come join our program because of the business side that I have. So, but I'm thankful for being where I'm at.
Do they want you to coach? They want you to run the basketball program? What have they been reaching out?
I think it's both. I mean, even they want me to be a head coach. I don't know. I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready yet.
Do you have interest in that?
I do because I know how to manage young people's lives, especially, when you look at basketball, you got a lot of inner city kids playing basketballs for these major universities. So I feel like it's bigger than just X and O's now. It's like, how can I guide these kids to the next level? How can I motivate and push them to be better? So I think on that level, I'm prepared and ready. But I'm still learning. I'm still, being president of basketball at the University of New Orleans and being assistant coach right now. But times is changing. People don't want the traditional coaches no more. They want coaches that's going to think outside the box. How are we going to get fans into our stands? How are we going to motivate the team to make a young kid that's maybe not that good?
Coach Sampson is one of the influences when it comes to how you deal with your kids, how you deal with your own players?
Yeah, I think Coach Sampson and also Deion Sanders.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. What about Deion?
I mean, just the way that he has the fatherhood, with his program. No matter you win or losing, he's going to be there. And he want to see these guys succeed. And he's going to find corporations. He's going to go find other people to get around to not just him motivate them, but just watching the people that he brings in his programs that are helping to motivate, to keep the program going.
Make him say,
Oh, God. Jason, I think he had you till the end. I'm just telling you, I actually don't think it's look, he played ball. He could play a little bit. His son played. His look, I like his look. The way he addresses people, I like. And I'm thinking, you know what, this is okay. But then when he dropped Deion, I said, well, he lost Whitlock. He lost Whitlock then and there.
Kelvin Sampson is one of my favorite coaches of all time, one of my favorite people of all time. And, when they started out, like, comparing him to Kelvin Sampson, I'm like, holy cow, this is nuts. And then they finally got to the real. It's like Deion has made this guy believe he could be a coach. I actually of all the rappers, I probably like Master P the most. He actually is a good, concerned father. One of his kids briefly had committed to play here at Tennessee State. And so here in Nashville, he is serious about basketball, but I just don't think we've reached the point where Master P will be a college basketball coach. But we might. We might. Stranger things. An HBCU hiring Master P, I could see it. If he had any success at an HBCU, I could then see a major university bringing him on. Let's go to a fellow rap impresario, Dr. Dre. Could you see your comrade Master P as a college basketball coach?
I could, but I wouldn't be happy about it because Master P has not put in the reps.
This is where you draw the line. Now, Darren
Yes.
Peterson can lay down and be a complete, but this, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dre.
Yes, this is where I'll draw the line because you have to put in the reps. Darren Peterson put in the reps. We've seen him on the court. We know what he can do. What has Master P done as a coach? Has he put in the reps? Has he put in the time? Has he proven that he will put in the work and learn to actually coach college basketball players? Based on what he said in that clip. Based on what he said in that clip, doesn't sound like it to me. He's talking about motivating guys from the inner city. Okay, then you come in as a guest speaker. You be a booster for the program. You come in and talk to the kids during the season. The coach hires you as a speaker. You come in and you talk to the kids. But this, I can motivate. Now, that's not what college basketball coaching, some of that is motivating, but has he actually done the work to where he can actually coach the team? He is a celebrity. That's how he would get the job. You get the job because he's a celebrity. Celebrities draw attention. That doesn't mean that they have competence. You don't have celebrities performing surgeries. You don't have celebrities managing your financial portfolios. Why is it that in the sports world, we think that just because of somebody's celebrity that they all of a sudden have credibility and they can be thrown into the job? No, this is nonsense. Master P should not be going straight to a head coaching job. He has to put the time in. As he said, he's still learning. He needs to keep learning for another 10 years, grinding as an assistant coach. I know a ton of assistant coaches. They grind for years before they get their first big jobs, and he needs to keep putting the time in.
Scap, be quick, but don't hurry.
You know, I'm going to sort of defend Master P here. I think that, look, do you guys remember, I'm not sure of the name, but a high caliber football collegiate coach was hired overseas to be a soccer coach, even though he didn't know anything about soccer. I can't think. Oh, yeah, Ted Lasso. A make-believe TV show is what I'm talking about, of course. So why stop with Master P? Let's get Snoop on the Lakers staff. I mean, he's a big Laker fan. Let's just get him on. JJ could put him on the assistant coaching crew. I like it. I think this would be a compelling storyline. I'm for it. Let's get Master P elevated up to a head coaching spot somewhere as soon as maybe this year. Let's just fire someone mid-season and get him right on board. Let's do it.
Master P is Ted Lasso. That's pretty good. No Limit Soldiers would be the slogan for the team. This could be amazing. Let me keep it moving. ESPN writer Justin Tinsley, he writes for ESPN's Anscape. He's written a piece saying that the NBA doesn't need a face. And he basically says things have changed, and the headline says doesn't need a face, it needs folklore. I think what he's saying is they can't create a face. Things are too splintered. It's just never going to happen again. There's never going to be another Michael Jordan, another Allen Iverson, another Magic and Larry, another LeBron James. He's saying things are too splintered. But let's take him at his word, and let's deal with the headline. And again, the headline, he didn't write it, but let's deal with what the headline says, that the NBA doesn't need a face. Scap, do you agree?
No, I absolutely disagree. I think this is a radical and outrageous take. The NBA, at least in the peak of the popularity of the NBA, it has always had a face. Like the NBA, like the dark days of the NBA was the 1970s. We came through that with on the back of Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. They were the face. Then Michael Jordan took over the torch from those two guys, elevated it, as we know, to new heights, and then he passed it over to Kobe Bryant. And then Kobe Bryant, I guess, handed it off to LeBron James, and LeBron's kind of ushered us back into the era of the dark ages. But LeBron was still the face of the NBA, and it was still at times compelling, even though the popularity of the sport has waned under LeBron's watch. It still was compelling because he was such a divisive character, is what I'm trying to say. And that's what you really need. You need the NBA's like the face, the greatest player, to be a player that people love and people love to hate. That player needs to be playing on like the brightest of the lights, the biggest of the stage. They need to be making deep playoff runs. I think Nikola Jokic is the best player by a long shot in the NBA today, and he has been for 5 years. He's not, and he never will be the face. But I think Victor Wembanyama does have that potential. The Spurs are one of the best run organizations in the entire league. So they've drafted well around him. He has he might arguably have even a better team than the Thunder when those players all mature. So they're going to be competing for deep playoff runs year in and year out. And look, let's not discount how great this guy is. He's 22 years old. If he plays, I think he's missed 14 games. So he can miss, I think, 3 more games and still be eligible for the year-end awards. If he does reach eligibility, he will likely be first-team All-NBA, first-team All-NBA defense, and Defensive Player of the Year, likely finish 3rd or 4th in MVP, again at 22. And look at his exploits in the All-Star game. He actually showed that he wanted to compete. He was daring all of these other establishment players into getting on his level and competing. He's likable. He's bilingual. He checks every single box to me. I don't know why the NBA aren't drooling over themselves to set this guy up and install him as the face of the NBA. That's what I would be doing if I was running the NBA marketing scheme right now.
Scap, I think Steve and Dre foresee Darren Peterson as the face of the NBA in short order. Steve, does the NBA need a face?
No, and his logo would just be a silhouette of a guy sitting on the bench. Well, here's the thing. Okay, so they have now openly admitted we have a tanking problem. I'm seeing all these think pieces of how do we now do the draft, or should we even have a draft? So you've already told about a dozen fan bases, hey, our games don't matter. See you next year. So meanwhile, teams are in the 8th year of a 5-year rebuilding plan perpetually, right? That's going to hurt it. Here's the other thing about having a face. You know what a face of the league does in general? They play all the time.
Oh, now you want players to play.
Oh, no. I'm hold on. You're making it sound like I'm defending Peterson. I'm not. I deal in the reality. But I do realize this. When I was a young person growing up in Valencia de Montebello, when I turned on Channel 9, which was KHJ Channel 9, then KCAL or Prime Ticket, I knew Magic Johnson, James Worthy, Byron Scott, Kareem Cooper, and later Michael Thompson. They were all going to play every single game. They were there for me. And I equate this to boxing. I think boxing is going to have a real issue creating their next superstar outside of Canelo Alvarez, because you cannot, especially now with boxing being a niche sport.
We almost made it.
You can't have your best fighters fight once or twice a year at most and say that's a superstar. Canelo Alvarez, by the time he retires, will have 70 fights. That's a lot of work. He became a superstar because there was familiarity, because he was active. I like to say activity matters. I think the same thing, this load management that has hurt boxing, we're seeing the erosion that is now hitting the NBA with a dose of reality where they're at least now admitting it.
Dre, does the NBA need a face?
Absolutely. The NBA needs a face because the face is about clarity, it's about storytelling, it's about reaching a casual fan, because that's what the league is. This is a TV show, it's entertainment. So those players that Scat mentioned, Magic, Bird, Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, even Iverson, people who don't even watch sports know these guys. They could point them out of a lineup. You need that because that keeps the casual fan somewhat tethered to the game. It allows you to create a storyline, and it makes it clear who this is, what this is about, and what you're getting if you want to turn this on. And to what Steve just said, that player has to be actively out there on the court playing on a consistent basis. So you need a player who is willing to take on that burden, I guess you call it a burden now, to play 82 games in a season when that's your contract. As long as you can get somebody to do that, the NBA absolutely needs a face, because it can't become a faceless entity and still compete in the entertainment space.
Any candidates beyond Wembanyama? Anybody else? Scap's big on Wemby. Anthony
like
Edwards said he doesn't want the job.
Cooper Flag.
And why can't, I guess it can't be Jokic because he's not American. It can't be Doncic because he's not American.
Here's my problem with, not my problem, this is the problem with Nikola Jokic. He's just not around enough in the NBA playoffs. The team, quite frankly, isn't a well-run organization. They are a substantially flawed lineup. The primary amount of players outside of Jokic can never stay healthy. They're always hurt in the playoffs. So he's like, they're going to lose. Look, they lost 2 years ago to the Timberwolves, a better team in the second round in 7. They lost last year to the Oklahoma City Thunder, a better team in the second round in 7. This year, they're barreling towards the San Antonio Spurs more than likely in the second round, and they'll likely lose to them, a better team in 7. Jokic just isn't going to be making deeply. He's not going to go deep enough in the playoffs. What's that?
Why can't SGA be the face?
I think SGA, I think he's an extremely likable guy. I think he's a good leader. I like his game. He led the NBA in scoring last year. He's going to be second this year in scoring to Luka Doncic. I think he's more of an unlikable character because of his alleged, I'm not going to confirm or deny that I think that he is a foul baiter. Many people think that SGA plays unethical basketball, meaning that he's like flopping and flailing, basically going into offensive sets with really no desire or goal to score the basketball, just to hunt contact and get his way to the free throw line. Couple that with the way the Oklahoma City Thunder play, a highly physically defensive brand of basketball. They mug and assault the other team on the other side. They get away with a lot of those calls. So SGA and his Thunder overall are a very unlikable team because it seems as if you can't touch him, but then their defense absolutely like slaughters and like manhandles every other player. So there's a lot of pushback on the Thunder right now. A lot of people, by and large, on a national level, are rooting against them and him. Secondarily, my last point with SGA, and this is my only real problem. To me, the main issue that makes that team great is their defense and their depth. SGA is a fantastic player. He's a top 3 player league-wide. But look, he hasn't played in like a week plus. He didn't play yesterday, nor did Jalen Williams, Jalen Williams was one of 2 players last year to make All-NBA and All-NBA defense. They didn't have either of those guys, and they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers yesterday and covered the line. They were +3, or they were -3. They covered that 1-8. Without those 2 guys, the Cavaliers are the hottest team in the NBA. They came in winners of 12 of their last 13 and never led in that game without the best 2 players on the floor, including SGA. I just don't think he is as impactful to winning that you want your primary face of the league. Like Victor Wembanyama is going to be the guy that stirs the drink for the San Antonio Spurs.
Anybody got an additional thought here about any SGA or anything?
Talk about the face. I read this book last year by Roland Lazenby. It's probably one of about 8 or 9 books I've read on the Bulls and Michael Jordan. I'm not even a Bulls fan. I'm just fascinated by Jordan. I think he's the greatest athlete of my lifetime by far. I don't think it's close. Let's be honest, in 20 to 25 years, is there an NBA player that you think they'll be writing books about that you'd be interested in, or documentaries? No. Really, there wouldn't.
That's a fascinating point. Holy cow.
There's really nobody. I mean, here's the thing about Jordan, when I read stuff like this, that is an underlying theme, which I find to be so refreshing, and it's lost. He was like Joe DiMaggio. Joe DiMaggio was once asked, hey, in the middle of August, do you ever take a day off or loaf it? He goes, no. He goes, I know there's some kid out there or some businessman who took his son out, saved 3 days of his salary. That's the first and last time they're ever going to see me. I owe it to them to give me an effort. Jordan lived by that credo. And I've seen so many highlight montages of various games that probably meant nothing. And I'm watching this going, that guy's the hardest playing guy every single game. And he understood the fishbowl existence that he was in, but he relished it. It was a point of pride. But he was out there. If you watch the games played, it's always 79, 80, 81, 82, 82.
Your point about a book, though, I want to follow. Is part of your statement that they won't be writing books like this about LeBron James or Steph Curry?
Maybe LeBron, because he's polarizing and he was big enough. Curry, I don't think so. I really don't. LeBron is a polarizing enough figure that, yes, I believe that there will be a book or 2. I certainly won't read it, much like the books that he purports to read. So, yeah. So, look, once you've lived through Jordan,
who's going to have the most books written about him? And he's not playing now. Obviously, he's retired and then he passed away. But there'll be books about Kobe. There'll be more books about Kobe, probably into eternity than LeBron James.
And there have been a few. You're right. But I don't think that these players, again, The average working class citizen of America who makes about what, 60 to 75,000, they're not going to feel a lot of sympathy for a guy saying, "Hey, my Achilles is a little bit sore, so let me rest on my $80 million guaranteed contract." It just does not resonate or play in Peoria.
Let me just give a little pushback to this, Steve.
Quickly.
All right, look, Nikola Jokic missed 16 games this year, 16 consecutive games with a legitimate injury. He had like a hyperextension in his knee, and he missed 16 straight games. He probably won't miss another game after that, and he still isn't healthy enough. He still shouldn't be playing right now, but he is. Coming into this year, he played more games than anybody in the entire NBA since he entered the NBA in like 2015. So this guy does take it like as like it's a cross that he thinks that he has to carry, that he has to be out there and play as much as he absolutely can. And I'm telling you right now, he's not going to have the rings, but Nikola Jokic is a top 10 player in NBA history. I don't know where he's going to fall at the end of the day. He's probably only going to have one championship, but he is a top 10 player in NBA history. And I think if people aren't going to take notice, like you're suggesting they won't, that's a mistake, and they really should take notice of what Nikola Jokic is and what he has been doing for the last 5 years.
Steve, what?
I just wonder, but no one has a problem with players sitting out with legitimate injuries. I think that's different. It's the load management. It's like, I played 2 days ago, and we got 3. Michael Jordan missed 63 his second year. Magic in his second year had a knee issue. He missed a bunch of games. That happened. People can deal with injuries. It's that this whole notion that you're asking us to play 3 games in a row. Again, it's a little bit different than a guy blowing out his ACL.
All right, let me move us and close this out here. And I'm sorry it took us this long to get here, but this is interesting, and I think we'll all have an opinion on it. Shannon Sharpe and Ocho Cinco suggested on their podcast that Floyd Mayweather is talking about coming back, unretiring.
He is.
Because he's broke.
Yeah.
Let's play the clip here of Shannon Sharpe and Ocho Cinco.
Only 3 fights that Floyd can have that can command and get the kind of money he's looking to recoup for money that may have been lost, or money that may have been stolen, or money he may have spent, to date. For one, a rematch with Canelo. That's one fight.
Canelo too big. He let that go.
Listen to me, Unc. We talk about making that money. He ain't gonna have no choice. Number 2, fighting Pacquiao again. Right? Okay. That's it. Yeah. And the only other fight that can get him the kind of money and the kind of payday he might need if you're coming out of retirement and putting your record in jeopardy, and that's Bud.
Bud hurt him, Ocho. Bud is still at the top, and Bud is the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world. And you talking about coming after 8-year layoff, you can come and fight him?
Do you understand why he's coming out of retirement? Are we missing the point here?
Yeah, we understand.
Come on, man.
No, Ocho. I hope that's not true. I hope Ocho, I hope he has an itch. Ocho, I can hope. I hope he has an itch to scratch. And he needs to scratch that itch. I'm hoping that's the case, Ocho. I'm hoping. I can hope. Let me hope, Ocho. I don't want Ocho. I don't want to be cynical. I don't want to be skeptical. I want to believe that the man has an itch that he wants to scratch, and it only can be scratched getting back into the ring. I don't want to think that financially his situation is unstable.
Guy's got a gambling problem. Of course his situation's unstable. I mean, this is about as predictable as anything I could imagine. Steve, how old is Floyd at this point?
47, and he has not had a real fight since 2015 when he beat Berto. Then he had the foray against Conor McGregor 2017, and he's done some exhibitions. And I don't know if you know this, Jason, but he actually made an official announcement with the press release. I'm unretiring. Get this. After my exhibition with Mike Tyson in April.
I heard this, yes.
So that's in the Congo, Rumble in the Jungle Part 2. But yeah, it's for the money. If you, just Google Floyd's name and the IRS. All the news is out there. He owes jewelers money. There's back paid rent for real estate in New York. It's clear that he is now part of the no money team, which is very ironic. And why is he doing this? Well, there's a great line, one of the greatest lines I've ever seen in any movie. Go back to the original Rocky. Rocky and Adrian are going on their first date inside the ice rink, and she asks him, well, why do you fight? And Rocky says, because I can't sing or dance. He can't sing or dance.
I can't imagine making as much money as Floyd Mayweather did and being broke at 47 and having to come back and fight. I can't. The guy's...
Come on.
He had to have made $500 million.
No, but wait a minute. Did we forget the words of the philosopher Pat Ewing? We make a lot of money, but we spend a lot of money. Dre, go ahead.
So it's we know what he made off the amounts that was announced, but what we don't know is what he did with his money, how liquid it is, how much assets he remains having, and what are his liabilities. We don't know. The challenge for Floyd, and it's a challenge with a lot of young black men who become famous, is that he made a brand out of, let me show you what I have. I've made this much money. Let me take another picture with stacks of money. Let me tell you, I've made great investments, so I'm good with money. He's been saying this for years. He built his brand off of it, literally changed from pretty boy to money. And if he ends up having money problems, he can't keep up that image, but he has to do something to go get the money. And in the ring, I love watching Floyd. It would be sad to watch him fight somebody like Terrence Crawford and get destroyed and destroy the image that we have of Floyd. The challenge with him, again, is he decided to build his brand around, I have a bunch of money. And this looks like what Ocho Cinco was referring to. It looks like he's doing it for the money. I hope, just like Shannon Sharp said, I hope he's doing it just because he just wants to fight and he doesn't have anything better to do. It doesn't look like that based on the way that he has branded himself over the last 20 years. But I guess maybe we'll find out. Maybe we won't. But that article that you were referring to, Steve, I can't remember which publication put it out there, but they laid out a lot of the stuff that he allegedly is in trouble with financially.
And guys, Manny Pacquiao is doing his own exhibition April 18th against Ruslan Provodnikov. I think it's a natural that those two fight. Mayweather-Pacquiao, you can call it go for broke. It'll sell like hotcakes.
I don't understand, Scap. Why not just start a podcast? Isn't this what all the former NFL and basketball players do? Why not
Can't make $200 million in one night with a podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, look, are you serious? Mayweather Pacquiao? We could call it AARP is what we could call that. Who wants to watch that? Look, guys, I took the liberty of doing a cursory Google search while you guys were talking. Estimates are 1.1 to 1.52 bill. That's billion with a B that Floyd Mayweather has made throughout his career from like purses that he's taken in from fights. $1 billion and he's 47 years old and he's completely broke. He's won the prize. This is, of all the idiots that we've seen out there, celebrities, actors, entertainers that have lost a lot of money, this guy would take the cake. To blow a bill before he even hits 50 is unimaginable. It actually is sad. It's a cautionary tale. We have seen it time and time again. But who actually wants to watch this guy fight? Like people that love him. If he comes out and if he loses and looks terrible and gets destroyed, well, look, if you love him or hate him, you can say, well, he's nearly 50 years old. This doesn't prove anything. Like he's not in his prime anymore. You obviously can't talk junk on a guy for losing or getting beat by like a prime fighter if he's nearly 50 years old or 47 or whatever. I just don't understand. Like, what's the story angle here? Like, what's compelling about watching a near 50-year-old guy box? I don't get it.
Scap, I think that there's an allure to what Dre said. People want to see Floyd get beat up because we've never seen it before. Okay. And by the way, I think it's less than 5 all-time great fighters that I can remember that actually stayed retired. One of them was Rocky Marciano, who died in a plane crash. The other one was Marvin Hagler, who had just had enough and moved to Italy to do spaghetti westerns. But Jason, about 2 weeks ago, Floyd Mayweather filed a lawsuit with damages named like $360 million against Showtime and their president, Steven Espinoza, alleging fraud, misallocation of funds. So this is definitely about the money.
Half of that money he made, that billions gap, went to the IRS. Let's not forget about that. And then you take in his, lifestyle. You take in the luxury stuff that he probably pays for and buys, the people he's responsible for, his children, family members he's taking care of, that money can go pretty quickly. Listen to
half
Odell Beckham
goes
Jr.
as far as it used to.
$500 million
OBJ
net.
has entered the
That
chat.
can go pretty quickly. I got you.
This
Dre,
is
you
O-
got some
OBJ.
audacious takes today. I'll give you that.
I'm playing devil's advocate here.
OBJ right now is thrilled. He's like, see, they thought I was lying when I said it was hard to live on $100 million. It's hard to live on $1 billion. We just, taxes.
It depends on how you define living. Yeah.
And kids.
How much is living?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, as someone, Dre, seriously though, as someone that gives life business advice, it just blows my mind that these athletes, no one ever catches on. No one saw the broke 30 for 30. No one ever, to me, as someone who's a lifelong gambler, and it's like, I'm not shocked at all. The more when Floyd was posting his winning tickets and all this other stuff, I was like, man, you headed for trouble, brother. It's I'm not shocked. Gamblers go broke.
Well, Jason, is like this. There's a concept called time perspective. And simple as this, the more successful the person, the further into the future they think about the permutations of their current actions. You used to live in LA, and you've said on your show that you left LA not because it was going bad for you, but because you were thinking about the next 10, 20 years of your life, and you wanted to put yourself in a better position 20 years from now, not right there in the moment. Because if it was about 20 minutes from now, you'd probably still be in LA, right?
Yeah.
And most human beings have very short time perspectives. They think about immediate gratification, what will make me feel good in 5 minutes, not what's going to help me in 10 years. And Floyd Mayweather seems as his mindset may just be of the average individual person. He happens to be an amazing boxer, and he made a lot of money doing it, but his mindset is probably a much shorter time perspective. And when you're in it and you're making that much money for 36 minutes of action, do you think it's ever going to end? Does it seem like you're going to need money 10, 20 years from now? Probably not. So I wouldn't say that it's that crazy for us on the outside looking in. Looking back, it looks crazy. But in the moment, you're making $200 million for one fight. Doesn't seem like it's ever going to end. And it doesn't seem like you're ever going to run out of it.
Steve, I'll give you the final word on this. This is your area of expertise, boxing.
Yeah, who is stunned that he wasn't just putting a couple $100 a month into his Roth IRA? I wasn't. A couple things. So last year there was a story that the Mayweather gyms, I guess he franchised them out. The one in LA had people picketing his employees because he wasn't paying them. Then one of his few investments, I think it was a gentleman's club called Girl Collection, they had some issues. The girls weren't getting paid fairly. Come on. Those girls are trying to put themselves through college and you can't pay them? That's disgusting. Disgusting. So when he fights, I just have one thing to say. Make sure you subscribe to my Substack because I'll have all the coverage of the Mayweather return.
Everybody will tune in to see that fight, regardless of what happens.
I won't.
I'm not sure if I'm going to. 47-year-old, 48-year-old Floyd Mayweather. Hold on,
Jason.
Everybody,
I know
are you talking about Crawford? I probably would tune in to see Crawford.
Crawford, Pacquiao, Canelo, any one of those will draw a lot of. He'll make a lot of money.
Yeah,
I wouldn't watch Pacquiao, but I would watch Crawford to see if it was like Larry Holmes carrying Muhammad Ali. If Floyd would have to do that. Anyway, thank you guys. I gotta go. We gotta wrap this show up. I'm gonna give my guys here in the Peanut Gallery, Justin, Luke, Peyton, a chance to review the show before we get out of here. Justin, I'm going to let you fire first. Highlight of the show today.
Highlight, it was interesting to see you guys give off your best iconic photos, but you left off of quite a few. Kobe holding the trophy in the locker room. Great moment that we did not mention. What about blocked by James? LeBron James blocked.
What year is this? Does anybody even know? I mean,
2001.
Hey, Scap, I'm not asking you. Don't chime in. This is the Peanut Gallery. You guys are done. Kick them off the deal, Luke. You can't. Oh, if I kick the hang up. Y'all leave. Quit. Scap's coming in with a cheap code, trying to help these guys out. Justin, go ahead.
Appreciate it, Scap. Big fan. Scap, big fan. Let's not forget the Kobe locker room. Then there's blocked by James, LeBron James, one of the greatest blocks of all time. He carried the 2016 finals there, in my opinion. There, iconic photo. David Tyree helmet catch. Another iconic photo, iconic moment that ended the Patriots' undefeated season. And then last but not least, the 2024 Olympics. Raygon took over and completely demolished that abomination of an event.
All right, Luke, anything catch your eye today? You got any comments?
Yeah, well, first off, we got to give Ren credit for this. This is incredible. The Empire Strikes Back.
Why are you giving Ren credit for it? It was my idea.
I'm getting there. You
I'm sorry.
I'm getting there.
Oh.
Jason comes up with the idea.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. Ren is well executed. The hockey stick looks like a lightsaber and everything. But I do have a question. What makes America the empire?
What makes America? Because we're the greatest empire, perhaps, in the history of the planet.
But the empire is evil. So America's evil?
Well, I think there are people, and again, are you a Star Wars guy?
Yeah.
There are people that think that maybe they're not evil. Didn't Darth Vader turn out to be a good guy or something at the end?
At the end, yeah.
Yeah, and so, all empires probably have some wickedness to them. So I don't have a problem with the Empire Strike. We are considered an empire. The rest of the world considered us an empire.
That's true.
And
That's true.
we struck back. So, you got anything else? Or that's
it.
All right, Peyton, your thoughts?
I would say that I feel bad for the hockey viewers of the show because you can't get Connor Hellebuyck his name correct.
I don't know how I blew
goalies
that.
in the league. Of course, I'm not an avid hockey observer, but I do see this as potentially a seminal moment for hockey to gratify an audience because it baffles you. Why would they not let NHL players play in Winter Olympics when this should be their biggest marketing event? And what happened yesterday? I mean, with the patriotism of all that, I think that could gratify somewhat of an audience. It makes me interested.
Interest, yeah,
for sure.
Grow an audience. I think you used the word gratify an audience, but I think you meant grow an audience.
Yeah,
but yeah, who am I to correct after calling him Hellebucky? And I don't know how I did that, but
and then the last thing I'll say, and
the
thing that I found most interesting about today's show was the discussion on trying to find a face of the NBA. I think it's just another one of these things that's just like off scope of what the actual issue is. Like I think that they really need a generation of American players. Like this upcoming draft class is a great class, right? They need this to be a generation of American players that recourse culture in basketball because I think it's a lot about they could find a face of the league. It wouldn't do anything because, and I think y'all were kind of close with the Zion comparison because, what he was at Duke and what he hasn't been in the league and being a New Orleanian and a Pelicans fan, so to speak, he's turned me off and he's walked all over the franchise for the last 7 years. And it's just like, that's what they allow their players to do to them. They don't have any leadership at the top of organizations. And so I think that's more of the issue for sure. And they need a generation of good-willed American players. And I don't think the face really fixes anything. And these things like Zion, LaMelo Ball, John Morant, I think those are all examples of how the American basketball culture is.
Are you related to Skap?
No, but
you're not related to Skap.
No, but I'm a big fan of his.
Both of you are very long-winded.
Right.
I just assume
the last thing I want to say is why not Jake Paul for Floyd Mayweather? Why not Jake Paul? If you want to make money and have a fixed fight that you won't get hurt in, why not Jake Paul?
Jake Paul's interesting, but people want to see Floyd get beat up. And Terrence Crawford, that's always been the allure. You watch every Floyd Mayweather fight in hopes that he gets beat up, gets his comeuppance. And so I think everyone would feel that would be guaranteed with Terrence Crawford. But gentlemen, good job, great job as always. We will. I'm not quite done. We're done here on the Fearless channel. We're done with Fearless today. But I will be on the Harmony channel discussing Mike Huckabee versus Tucker Carlson. Give me about 5 minutes, 11:51. 5 minutes from right now, we'll be on the Harmony channel. Virgil, TJ, and Shamika. And we'll talk about the Tucker Carlson, Mike Huckabee interview. But for here on Fearless, we're done. We'll see you tomorrow.